Hello, everybody. Welcome to Planet FPL Clash of the Correspondents. My name's James, and today I'm joined by two of our correspondents ahead of a very big game at the top of the table in game week 15. Firstly, let me introduce you to Aaron Lagor, our Leicester City correspondent. How are you, Aaron?
Very well, thanks, mate.
Good man. And we're also joined by Gary Robinson at Is My Cap Playing, our Manchester United correspondent. How are you, Gary?
Very good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Slightly reluctant and disappointed with the fact that I've scheduled Aaron on straight after his team giving me a fucking beating at the weekend. But we'll get on to that in a second. Just firstly to clarify, guys, that we are recording this podcast on Wednesday prior to Manchester United's Carabao Cup fixture at Everton. So do we know if they've got a double or blank? You might, but we won't in relation to game week 17 and 18. Obviously, there is a possibility United could have a double in that game week. We don't know at the moment. Aaron, congratulations for Sunday, mate. Thoroughly deserved victory through gritted teeth, but it was thoroughly deserved. Talk to me about the game on Sunday, if you can, in the first instance, because it wasn't a great watch, I don't imagine, for the neutrals.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, it was a game that I wasn't really looking forward to be honest, as well.
I don't look forward to any of our games, mate.
Well, after the lockdown period, the end of last season, he obviously beat us on 2 or 3 counter-attacks. And depending on how we set up, I thought that we could be done like that again on Sunday. But it was a completely different game plan. I think Brendan got his tactics completely right this time round. I think what made a big difference was Castagna being available, because I think if he wasn't, then we may have played a slightly different system, and it might have been to our detriment a little bit, really. So I think him playing as a big plus. It enabled us to set a 4 at the back, where we are more comfortable, and it allowed us to be slightly more threatening in an attacking sense, and we nullified your attack really well. I mean, the guys down the right hand side, I mean, Justin played really well, and they had an eye on Son. Kane didn't really get into the game too much. He didn't really have many chances. So yeah, I think on reflection it was probably a fair result. Obviously the penalty did help us, a bit of a mad one from Aurier, who's really improved of late, which is a bit of a shame.
You ever feel like you've asked the question and wished you hadn't asked it?
I think it was a fair result, like you say.
Back 4 or back 5, Aaron? Is there a preference now? Because this has kind of been repetitive cycle over podcast themes for us this year, for me and Suj. And every time I feel like I get my head around the idea of a back 5, suddenly back 4's popping up in Europa League, and I'm questioning it. And that was clearly a very narrow back 4 at the weekend against us, which worked really well because it kind of counted all the space that Tottenham try and open up. So have you got a preference, or do you think it's a case that Rodgers might keep flip-flopping between the two?
I think he might, and a lot of it depends on personnel. I think it's who he's got available and who can do a job in that system. Like I said, I think if Castagna wasn't available, we may have gone to a 3 or a 5 at the back again, because we were obviously worried about Son getting in behind. But then we then can't get up the pitch enough if our wing backs are getting pushed back. So I think a 4. I think 4 is preferably the way he wants to set up, but it just depends who he's got available. If he's got Ndidi available, our wing backs are available. I mean, Justin was great again at the weekend. You know, he's becoming undroppable in that team now, really. So yeah, I think that's what it depends on. He may take it game to game, but I think our preference is 4 at the back.
The FPL managers have definitely just picked up on the idea that Justin's becoming undroppable. I'm not convinced that's the case, although every time I watch him, I think he's getting a bit better. He was really good against Brighton, playing in almost a completely different way to how he played the game against Tottenham, for example. I mean, he basically never really crossed the halfway line against Tottenham, for example. But we'll come back on to some of the personnel, because you've still got, obviously, C.O.T.C to come back. As you said, rotating between the two systems, for example. But Gary, after my team and Aaron's team bored the nation on Sunday, you and that lot from down the M62, is it?
Mm.
They livened up everybody's afternoon on Sunday, didn't they?
Yeah, it was absolute carnage, that game, wasn't it?
That's mental, mate.
Yeah, I think Solskjaer deserves a lot of credit for
He
it.
does.
He's not had a lot of credit, and for the last few months he's not deserved a lot. But on Sunday, especially, he got it spot on. Leeds probably played into his hands a little bit because that's right in his sweet spot. He's getting fast players to play counter-attacking football, but picking Dan James over Pogba, for example, given the game Pogba had on Thursday before, was unbelievable decision, and it worked. And yeah, absolutely slaughtered him. I mean, it was 6. It honestly could have been 10.
Yeah, absolutely could have been. I mean, Meslier made 9 saves in the game, mate.
Yeah,
so,
precisely. And some of them were sitters. I mean, Martial missed 2 absolute sitters.
1 goal this season for Martial.
I know, yeah. He feels like he's livening up these last couple of weeks, especially in fantasy terms. I think that's 5 returns in his last 2 matches now. But yeah, not on it. But it goes back. He's always like that. He's either the best striker in the league or the worst. There's no in between with him, unfortunately.
It depends what he's done with his weeknights previously, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's got a lot of extracurricular activities going on, that lad, I think.
I'm glad you mentioned Solskjaer because I think a lot of us have bashed him. And on Tuesday's podcast, I used the term masterstroke from Solskjaer. And I've definitely not used that before. I actually said that it was probably his best tactical performance as Manchester United manager. What's the feeling with him at the moment? Because there's a lot of kind of in thinking that eventually he'll go, but it feels like every time it's getting called into question by the fans, you go and have an amazing result, and then you have a little run again, and then repeat cycle, basically. Yeah. Is that how it's going?
It is. That's how it's been since it started. We've had 2 or 3 absolute purple patches where we win 6, 7, 8 in a row, and then we just drop off a cliff for 2 months, and then like you're saying, it just goes round and round. And if we can get any kind of consistency together, we are in this title race, because nobody, apart from Liverpool, nobody else is putting anything together. And even Liverpool aren't the side they were last year. Their points, they're not going to get in the high 90s this season. So everyone else has got a chance, even if Liverpool end up on the high 80s, which is probably about where they're tracking now. That's got to pull everyone else into it. And at the minute, as it stands, if we win all our games from now to the end of the season, that we've won the league, and nothing Liverpool can do about that. It's in our hands. It's in our hands now. And that's, it was not going to happen, but that's the truth of it. If we win all our matches, Liverpool can't stop us winning the league, and that's madness, really, considering how poor we started.
This is definitely the bit where I need to inform you that you need to win 24 games, mate.
Don't worry about that part of it. Just worry about.
This is confidence, Gary. This is a little bit different from what we've heard from you in the past.
Yeah, I mean, if call next week and it won't be, will it? Because we'll
not.
No, we'll lose to Leicester and draw 0-0 with Wolves, and it'll be top 4 battle again. But yeah, at the minute, you've just got to try and enjoy it and see if it. Because I don't think anyone's expecting us to win the league. But if we put a title challenge in, that would be genuine signs of progress, wouldn't it? If we finished second and we were within 10 points of Liverpool by the end, that would be a clear sign of progress and a clear sign that he might be the person to get us, carry us forward. Because that hasn't been the case last few years. We've been 30 odd points behind and things like that.
You won't be this time, because you're absolutely right what you say in terms of it's unlikely probably to get to the 90s in terms of winning the title. I still think it's going to be high 80s. You probably swing somewhere between 80, 86, 88. I think it's probably, to be honest, that's roughly what I think Liverpool will finish on, basically. So I think it's going to need someone to still tip the high end of that to win the title. Do you genuinely think you're capable of that?
No.
All right,
no,
so it is over then. You're not going to win 24 games.
But while it's on, you've got to, as a fan, you've got to enjoy it, haven't you? You've got to, no point waiting for it to go wrong. You may as well enjoy it. And the other thing is that for the players and the team, they need to think it's on. And as long as it is on, they've got to keep playing like it is. There's no point saying, oh, we can't catch Liverpool, because as it stands, we can catch Liverpool easily. All we've got to do is win our game in hand and beat them at Anfield, and we'd be top of the league. Now, that isn't a tough achievement, is it, to win those 2 matches? And then once you get to the top, if you can get to the top, then it's in your hands, isn't it? But it won't happen. Of course it won't happen, but you've got the players and the fans should be expecting and thinking that it can happen, because otherwise, it'll all blow up in your face anyway, and you've not enjoyed it anyway. So you may as well enjoy it while you can.
Well done for making me laugh. I mean, this time last week, Gary, I was enjoying being part of it, but I never believed it.
Yeah.
So I think the players at Tottenham might have believed it a little bit. That might have been the issue. Are you in the race as well, Aaron?
It all comes down to consistency, doesn't it? I think whoever puts a consistent run together, like Gary said, has got a real shot. Not necessarily at the title, because I believe that Liverpool are the best team in the league, and I think they will win it. And whether they'll win it comfortably, I'm not sure. But it's a weird one with us. We're second in the league, and we've only, I think we've lost 4 out of 7 at home. It's bizarre, really. But our away form has been so good. So if we can sort of home format, I mean, a big problem with us is having a lot of players out. We have had a lot of injuries. We've had to move players around the system and stuff. If we can get a settled 11, then why not? Why not?
Well, that's part of the thing with your team, Aaron. I think that you was in a similar position this time last year, but I think going into Christmas, I feel like you might have only been maybe 4 or 5 points off Liverpool, and you were doing amazing. And bearing in mind, then Liverpool had won nearly every game. I think just drawn with United, actually. Other than that, they'd won every game. And yet, you could see them. Whereas this year, I mean, your form at the start of this year is not comparable to the form that you were showing at the start of last season. But then it's improved massively from the restart period, which was obviously massively disappointing. And I think, obviously, the return of key players is proving brilliant. I spoke on Tuesday's pod about the fact that you've got to this point with no Pereira, basically no Siyuncu, no Ndidi till very recently. James Maddison has been eased in all season, is only now looking fit, for example. So that's real credit to the squad. And I think we underestimate, actually, that you've got a decent squad now, Aaron.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of strength and depth there, and we've needed it at the start of this season. It's bizarre that we've had all these games and we haven't had a draw yet. So, some of those games where we've lost by the odd goal, if we can turn them into draws in the difficult moments, then it could be a different story. Like you say, consistency. That's all it's about. But in order to get that, you need a settled 11. But I mean, the only one really we have out now is Pereira. Most of them are back. So if we can keep them all fit and firing, then we've got a real shot at top 4. It's an interesting season, to say the least.
It's definitely that. I mean, consistency is especially key for top 4. Whenever Tottenham get in the race, the only thing I'm trying to look at is 2 points per game. Because I know if we hit 2 points per game, doesn't matter what anyone else does. That 76 points will be top 4. So you can get hung up in, if you watch all the other games, you start worrying about, United won again, or Tottenham won again, or City won again, or whatever. You start going down a downward spiral. If you just focus on yourselves and think, this is what we need to achieve points-wise, you find the race a lot more enjoyable, I can promise you. It's interesting, Gary. Aaron obviously mentions home form, which prior to the weekend had obviously been a massive issue for yourself as well. Yeah. Is there anything in that? Because there was I saw a lot of people obviously talking before the Leeds game about don't fancy Bruno as captain in FPL, for example, because of the home form, which I understand to a certain extent. But then I look at the opposition, I think it's absolutely beautiful for him. Were people reading too much into the home form because essentially you played in there Arsenal, Chelsea, Tottenham, Man City?
Yeah, I think it was mainly down to the opposition. I mean, you've played 3 of the top 6. You've played Arsenal, played Palace when we weren't really fit. It was our first game of the season. I think it was just a quirk of the fixture calendar, really. We probably do prefer playing away in terms of the counter-attack, and that suits us a bit more rather than being asked to open teams up and things like that. But I don't think there was a lot to it. And people thinking, oh, can't captain Bruno at home and things like that. He's going to go off. I don't think it's home or away for him. He's going to go off when he's going to go off. He's already had, he's had 2 double-figure hauls at home that I can think of. He scored against Tottenham at home, So there's half the matches probably where he's returned anyway. So I think you try and clear that home and away thing out of your mind in fantasy terms, especially with no fans in again. I don't think it's that relevant. But I think it'll suit us on Saturday because Leicester struggling at home. We're the best away team in the country as it stands. So it should play into our hands, but we might end up in another situation like Sunday, the Leicester Spurs game, where you've got 2 teams who want to counter-attack on each other, and it might just be it might just cancel each other out in a bit of a dull spectacle, unfortunately.
So the flip of the home form, if we look at the teams you've played away from home, Brighton, Newcastle, Everton, Southampton, West Ham, Sheffield United. Now, I'm not saying you should have expected to win all 6 of them games because, Southampton, West Ham and Everton are not the easiest games on paper, of course not. But I think individually, as a Manchester United fan going into all those games, you'd expect to win, wouldn't you? Just if you treat them all individually.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, of course you would. You'd expect to win all of them. Like I say, it's just a quirk of the fixture calendar, isn't it? You play 3 or 4 tough teams at home and a lot of easy teams away, and that's what happens. You get that sort of imbalance in the points. I think it'll correct itself as we go on.
Is there any reason you keep giving all these teams a 1-goal head start, though, mate?
Oh, just that's what I mean. You just think, what's going on? Is that coaching? Is that concentration? What is it? Because it's every week.
It has been every game. You've come from behind and won away from home.
Yeah,
it's astonishing.
And it'll come to an end at some point, and you wouldn't want to give Leicester a goal start because
agreed.
Rodgers is quite astute, and Leicester will be happy if that goes 1-0 Leicester. They'll just sit deep and wait to counter with Vardy, won't they? So they can't be doing that on Saturday. That's for sure.
Is that key, Aaron? First goal wins in Leicester games.
Yeah, it seems that way, doesn't it? There's not many games that we've gone behind and then come back to win. I think 2 all season. One against Burnley, and there was another one. It escapes me at the moment, but
Man City.
Yeah, Man City.
Easy one to forget, that one.
Yeah, yeah. I think first goal in this game is key, and yeah, I think that it's going to be. It is a theme in our games, especially at home. If we go behind at home, we find it difficult. To because then we're chasing the game. We're okay if we're in control of the game, but as soon as it gets away from us, we can't seem to break teams, especially if they're sitting deep when they're protecting a lead. We find it difficult. We don't really have the tools to unlock the defences. It may change now. We've got some of the personnel back. I think that's been a big issue. But it seems the way. If we go behind in games, it becomes tough.
So since that Manchester City game in game week 3, obviously the big 5-2 win for those who may have forgotten it, there's only been 3 games that you've played since in the league where both teams have scored. So 4-1 at Leeds, which the goal came from a cross, which everybody missed, basically. 2-1, you lost at home to Fulham. You had a bad day, and you obviously scored very late when you were 2-0 down. And to be honest, you struggled that day when you...
Yeah, we're awful.
And Sheffield United, you conceded a goal from a set piece when 1-0 up, which is set pieces have been an issue for you this season as well, documented as well. So those are the 3 games where both teams have scored. So you can look at all 3 of them and go, well, that's even unstoppable. 1 from a cross, which everyone missed. 1 from a set piece. And okay, 1, you're chasing the game 2-0 down against one of the weakest teams in the league. So he does begin to feel like that. And to be honest, on Sunday when we played against you, both teams really were frightened of the other. I know by the end you well deserved to win. But if that game had been 0-0 at half-time, everyone would have gone, yep, that's right, because both teams have been very ordinary, frightened of the other one. And I think that's a lot of what it is with Leicester. They obviously want to open counter-attacking situations, particularly for the main man up front. But I think there's also a realisation that they can be exploited as well. And that's obviously particularly key coming to the game for this weekend when you're likely to be coming up against people like Martial and Rashford.
Yeah.
Do you think Rodgers will shut down the game from that perspective, similar to what he did against Tottenham at the weekend?
He may do, yeah. And I think that's probably the way to approach it. Because I think if United get in front, it could be very difficult for us. Yeah, I do.
Let's touch a little bit then on some personnel, guys. So we've spoken a little bit about system, Aaron. Soyuncu's quite close to fitness, is he?
Yes. Yeah. Apparently, a couple of games. But to be honest, I don't think they're going to rush him back because they brought him back last time and he had a slight setback. So there's no real rush to bring him back as long as the other guys are fit and we can just bring him back in gently. Very much like Pereira as well, who's a little bit further away. The guys that are in there are doing well. You could arguably say Justin's undroppable at the moment. He's done such a great job for the team. I mean, I was a bit critical of him last time I was on, and he's really stepped up since. He's played really well. I think it's helped that he's been put in his natural position. He looks more comfortable.
Very much so.
And I do think that he's actually mentally he's kind of stepped up and thought, right, okay, I belong in this team now, rather than just I'm a backup for Pereira when he comes back. He's gone, right, it's my shirt and I don't want to lose it now. So
it's probably the looming sight of Pereira returning has probably helped as well for him. Well, I've got to start playing really well now if I'm going to keep my shirt in the team.
Yeah.
Knowing that, as we saw against Tottenham, because I think I'm right in saying that's the first time Castagne's played left back and Pereira's played, Justin's played right back.
That's
Is
right.
that right?
Yep, correct.
Because that was the one thing I couldn't get my head around from game week 1. Why wasn't it just Castagne at left back? I could never figure it out. But I think for Sunday against Tottenham, it was a case of keeping the game very narrow. Was one of the reasons we spoke about the fullbacks not going forward.
Yeah.
One of my theories on the back 4, back 5 is that the back 5 is there quite a lot to protect Johnny Evans, who I feel has had a bit of a dip off in terms of legs this season. I'm not saying it's become a bad player. I just think there's a real concern that in a back 4, coming up against someone like Martial, I mean, he's always going to get outpaced, but at the moment he's going to be in real trouble. So I think there's a lot of protecting him at the moment. Is that a fair comment or is it harsh?
No, I think it's fair to a degree. I do think they have worried about he has dropped. I think he's lost a bit of yard of pace. He still reads the game very well. But I do think Fofana in there is helping him. I think Ndidi being back, protecting will help as well. I think they obviously, without Ndidi, I'm not sure they completely trusted Mendy and Tielemans to protect. So that may have been an issue as why they went to a 3. But if you saw it in the Spurs game, they do shift from a 4 to a 3 sometimes. And so they vary it a little bit depending on who's attacking. So, there is a concern on Evans. It'd be interesting to see what happens when Soyuncu is fully fit and whether actually Evans drops out the team rather than Fofana, because Fofana's been fantastic. I can't see him dropping him.
When Evans, to kind of counteract what I've said, obviously Evans played in the 4 at the weekend and he was faultless to the extent that you probably wouldn't have even noticed he was playing. Just very unassuming, quite typical Johnny Evans, doing the simple things. Good passer, go and win the header, defend your box properly, sit deep. That's all easy for him. The concern, I think, longer term, and I think the visual is probably it's going towards Soyuncu and Fofana in a 2, the centre backs. Would that concern you from a height perspective at all? Because neither are the biggest.
No, although Fofana's deceptively quite good in the air. He's got a good leap on him. So that wouldn't really worry me in that sense. And Soyuncu's actually really good in the air as well. I think him missing has actually been a big part of why we've conceded a lot from set pieces.
Okay.
He headed a lot away last year. He's always in the right position. It is a concern, but I think if Evans does drop out and Soyuncu comes in, then and Ndidi being back as well, he's another one. He defends the box really well from set pieces. So, hopefully, I think we'll be okay in that sense.
Justin's the one that interests most people from an FPL perspective. Obviously, many will have, and those who are aiming towards the double in 19 will presumably be looking to keep, particularly if they bought a 4.5 and got the value out of it. By the time that comes around, Pereira could well be fit. do you feel like we're just looking at a rotation between the three fullbacks if we include Castagne in now?
God, that's a difficult one. Like you, all season I've been trying to work out whether Castagne plays left, Pereira plays right. I mean, Pereira fully fit starts, doesn't he? He's one of our best players. So I don't know whether, depending on Justin, whether he feels comfortable with Castagne on the left, whether he may play Pereira further forward. Just something I've been thinking about, because Justin he's obviously good going forward, but he's very disciplined defensively. But I just don't know whether that would suit Pereira, because although he's fantastic going forward, he does so much defensively as well. But that's a strong right-hand side there, and they obviously both know the roles very well. I mean, Pereira actually played on the wing at his last club, so he could go there, and it adds another dimension to his attacking wise. So I don't know whether that might be. I mean, Brighton played at the weekend and played brilliantly. He does so much work for the team. He's very underrated. He's a very average footballer, but makes up for it in commitment and guile and whatever. I mean, he's fantastic in that sense. But he's getting on a bit. He's not got the legs to be playing sort of 3 games a week. So maybe that's the way he might go for, see how Pereira looks at on the right-hand side.
There has been some speculation that, Pereira right wing. Yeah, I think Pereira can play left midfield as well if necessary. So you've got three right backs who can play anywhere, basically. And obviously Justin, as we've seen a number of times, can play obviously right-sided centre-half in the back three as well. So there is scope where all 3 players could play together. Gary, does your back four pick itself, or are we in debate about left back at the moment?
I think Solskjaer. I think Shaw's his first choice. So I think that's the back four he'll go. Shaw, Maguire, Lindelof, Wan-Bissaka. I don't think there's much debate about that. Telles doesn't seem to have impressed Solskjaer. He only seems to get games when Shaw's injured so far.
Has Telles impressed you?
Not overly, but I mean, neither's Luke Shaw's not impressed me for 7 years, so it's
mate.
it's swings and roundabouts. But so willing to give Telles a bit more of a chance. I think he had COVID as well, which is obviously impacted him. So I'm not writing him off just yet. But I think on current form and experience and things like that, you'd have to just give it to Shaw for now until Telles can settle in a bit more.
And I don't really want to talk about ifs and buts when we might already be dated here, but if United did have a double-double as such in FPL, you'd get one defensively, would you? Or would you be thinking, shit, I'll just go Martial, Rashford, Fernandes and get on with it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on my wild card now, and I've been pondering whether to get a Lindelof in at 4.8, I think he is, or he was last night. But there's too many other options at that value where you just think, because if we get a double-double, then you're going to have to go for it. But as it stands, I don't think you have to, because Liverpool away and Fulham away don't scream out defensive returns to me. But yeah, if we have 4 games in 2 game weeks, then you're going to have to. But you'd have to go to Lindelof as well, because he's the cheapest one, I think, at 4.8, and he's a bit of a threat going forward. I think Shaw's 5 million, isn't he? I
think you'd be put off by Shaw and Telles because you don't know which one's going to play. It's not what you'd want in a double. Yeah. Wan-Bissaka too expensive?
Yeah, because you're not going to get anything attacking from him, are you? I don't think he barely gets an assist all season. He's not going to score a goal. And like I say, so I think Lindelof would be the one.
By default and cheapest.
Yeah, he's the cheapest, so. And you just sit as part of your bench boost or whatever, and whatever he gets you. Whereas if you're paying the 5.5 for Maguire or Wan-Bissaka, you'd want a guaranteed clean sheet there, wouldn't you, or an attacking return. So I think it is Lindelof if you're going to go that way. I would try and avoid it at all costs, really. De Gea might be a shout if you want to pay that kind of money for a keeper, because at least you might get the saves and the.
But isn't there a risk that against Fulham, for example, that Dean Henderson plays in goal?
Well, I don't know. This is the thing. I said it when we came on for the Brighton game or pre-season. I can't remember. Brighton. This idea that rotating keepers, it never works, and it's not worked this season. You bring Henderson in to put the pressure on, But when Henderson plays, I think he's under so much pressure, and then he gets those silly mistakes against Sheffield United. I think with the keeper, they've just got to play, haven't they? Unless they're injured, they've got to play. It's got to, especially a young keeper like Henderson, can't keep coming in and out of the team. It never. I can't think of an example where it's ever worked, where you just keep rotating your keepers.
No, it's something Ancelotti's done a couple of times this season at Everton as well with Pickford and Olsen. But yeah, it's a strange one to be. I think we've all kind of acclimatised and got used to the whole. All right, in the cup he's going to play in goal, for example, you back up. But in the league, it's very strange in the league, not common at all. But I think that would be enough to put you off De Gea as well, wouldn't it? Surely?
But yeah, probably. I don't even know how much is De Gea 5 or 5.5. I mean, if he's 5.5, you can't pay that for him anyway.
I think my answer would be too much either way, mate.
Yeah, definitely.
And it settles the defence as well, doesn't it? When you don't know who your keeper is from game to game.
Yeah, I think that's been one of the reasons we've been quite inconsistent defensively, because we're chopping and changing the keepers, the left back's changing. We've played a 5, we've played a 4. It's, we just don't seem to know what we're doing at the back, really, in terms of a system or a plan. And that is reflected, maybe that's reflected in some of the poor starts we're having.
Just a note on the guys' defence as well. Harry Maguire's on 3 yellow cards, which would also be a bit concerned if you want to buy him, because 2 more yellow cards before 19th game, not game week 19, but whichever Manchester United's 19th game is, would obviously mean a 1-game suspension. You definitely wouldn't want him playing against Liverpool, getting booked and then missing Fulham. That would feel like a bit of a disaster from a double game week perspective.
Yeah, I'm trying to work out, if we don't have a double, the 19th would be the Fulham game, wouldn't it?
That's correct, yeah. If you play Burnley before, yeah.
Yeah. So there's another reason to avoid, I think. I mean, he's too much anyway, Maguire.
Talk to us about Paul Pogba, Gary.
I'd love him. I'd love him just to stay and knuckle down, and because he's on his days. There's no one like him in the league, is there, in terms of his skill set and all the different things he can do. But if he doesn't want to be there, then they just need to draw a line under it and find him a club and find him someone who'll pay his wages. I mean, good luck to his agent getting him a move in this current climate and the coronavirus. And I don't know where he thinks he's going to get a move for him, because I can't think of any of the big clubs who could afford him, and he's on £250,000 a week at United. Well, who's going to pay that wage for him now? But I'd love him to stay, and just because, I mean, you saw against Sheffield United, he was unbelievable, and then doesn't get a game the week after. So don't know whether that something's gone on, or because there's no reports of an injury.
But I think for Leeds, it was a tactical decision, wasn't it?
I know,
this was genuinely a tactical decision because of the dynamism. I mean, look at the way McTominay was great, right?
Yeah, I know, but then that, if you can make a tactical decision to drop an £80 million midfielder, then do you need him? Guardiola wouldn't ever make a tactical decision to drop De Bruyne, would he? For example, so it was a tactical decision, but your tactical decisions don't usually involve dropping who on paper is your best player and certainly your most expensive player. So clearly, there's something that Solskjaer's not that bothered about with him, and I think he will end up going. But I don't know how much money we'll get for him now. I think we'll struggle to get our money back on him. I don't think anyone's paying 80 million for him in this climate. And like I say, good luck to Raiola getting someone to give him $250,000 a week. Because
I take it, therefore, you want him in the team at the moment, obviously.
If he was at it and he wanted to be there, I'd have him in the team every week, unquestionably, because he just brings so much. He's got everything. He's got everything in his locker, but it's whether he wants to apply it and whether he wants to be there. And I think at the minute he probably doesn't. But
who do you think in that case is his best partner in that position? Who do you think? I'm glad he's with Pogba today.
Well, the other thing with Pogba is I still think we play him too deep. I won't play him as part of the 2. He plays him in the 2 in a 4-2-3-1 most weeks. I don't think you get the best out of him there. I'd love to see us just play with one defensive midfielder, whoever that may be, Fred or McTominay, and then just play Pogba and Fernandes. But he doesn't he doesn't seem to trust that. He did it in the lockdown when we first came back. He played every match, I think, Pogba, and we did all right. But
with Matic, must be said, which was the
yeah,
partnership at Sheffield United as well.
yeah. So the problem you get then is which is the problem with all our midfield, is they're all so different, which should be a good thing. But you end up having, if we play Fred and McTominay, they're just runners really. They're not good on the ball. You know, they can't pass it, you know, with any real pace or verve or guile or anything. But then if you play Matic and Pogba, you get all of that, but none of them can't run, won't run type thing. And you just never get the blend right between them. You know, Fernandes is a must in the team anyway. So you've got 4 players there, only 2. And then you've got Van der Beek, who, you know, God knows why they bought him, because they clearly don't see a place for him in the team.
What's his position?
Well, I'd never seen him playing much before he came to United. I might have seen him in a couple of Champions League games, but I don't know. I don't know what his position is. I don't know. You know, I think against the weaker opposition, I think you can play him in that deeper role, because I think he's really good on the ball. And he reminds me a bit of Daley Blind in the weaker games. You can just play him and get him on the ball in that deeper role. But you know, you wouldn't want to go to Leicester away with Daley Blind with Van der Beek in that deep role, because he doesn't look to have the strength or the other side of it. So I don't know. I honestly don't know what his position is, and I really don't know why we bought him. I can't see the logic of spending it, because what did we spend on him? 50, 60 million quid. What he wasn't
At 40, I think.
Oh, 40. But you know, what would 40 million quid have got us in the centre back market, for example? Or, you know,
we've been wanting to buy a centre back since long before Mourinho left, mate. So.
I know, but you know, we could have £40 million for a centre back would have got us, presumably would have got us a real upgrade on Lindelof and or Maguire, who could have gone straight in the team, and we've ended up spending, you know, £40 million on a midfielder who, at the minute, appears to be about what, 5th choice.
The flip is, though, we've been so critical of beyond your first 11. The depth of the squad looks a bit better now, so that's well, it does
it does in midfield, doesn't it? But the centre back, we've got no reserve centre back really. Full backs, we still look weak. Centre forward, we still look quite weak. So yeah, but we've got, you know, 6 decent midfielders. So
we'll come back to the forwards in a moment. I want to ask you, Aaron, that controversial statement maybe, is Ndidi and Tielemans the best double pivot in the league?
Yeah.
Gary's saying yeah.
Yeah, I think Ndidi would be anybody's best double pivot, wouldn't he? Yeah, he does so much work for the team, and he's so good in that position. He could get in any top 6 team really now. I think.
And the rest, mate. I think he could go and play for Barca, Madrid, anybody.
He's so good, isn't he?
He's so good, isn't he?
He is. Is it what he does? And when he came in, he was very raw, but he's really settled into that role now. Yeah, he is. Yeah, and Tielemans has really stepped up again this season. He had a dip in the lockdown period, but he's really improved again this year, and he's really versatile as well. He's a lot more disciplined as well. So yeah, probably is. Yeah.
Once you add Maddison in front of that becomes an extremely strong trio. He's obviously back up to fitness. I think we all know the capabilities of James Maddison. In FPL at the moment, he's obviously a massive differential. I think he's 7.1 million at the moment. Would he be someone, Aaron, that you're considering as part of a bench boost if you're heading that way for game week 19?
I'm not sure. He could be. I think he'll play both the games, because obviously he's been out for so long and we need him now. And he's really got that bit between his teeth. He's come back. He's looking good, isn't he? He's looking on it. So yeah, it could be a nice little punt.
I think there's a temptation to look at the attacking players because, all right, yeah, it's United this week. But for those who are sort of going to wild card straight after the game, obviously looking at Palace away, Newcastle away, then the double Southampton, Chelsea. Before we come on to a rotation concern that I've got, I presume Barnes, Under, Perez, there would all be gambles that no one should be taking, in your opinion.
Yeah, I think so. I think they'll all get rotated over this time.
Have you got a preference who, say that one of them is playing? Have you got a preference? You think, oh, I'm pleased Perez is playing, for example, or
Barnes? Every time. I don't. Even when he dropped him out of the team, mate. I know it baffles me. I mean, he brought him out of the team. Maybe he was a little low on confidence and he wanted to try something different. But he looks so much better in our team. But we look so much better with him in it. So
I agreed.
Yeah, it's a strange one. I think he does struggle for a little bit of consistency, but he's another one. Like when he's on it, he can be unplayable.
Harvey Barnes would interest everyone. I think if he played every week.
Yeah,
it's just too frustrating.
I've owned him once this season.
You won't again.
Well, not at the moment. Until I see a run of consistent games. I mean, he in the game that I brought him in for, he had that late. Well, it was a late consolation goal that got cancelled out. But after that, I just didn't see him sort of being consistent. So he had to go. I wildcarded the week after, so it wasn't a major issue. It was kind of a bit of a one-week.
Got beat by 3-0 by West Ham. Let me rip up my team.
It worked out well, though.
I don't blame you for that. Now, I've said, Aaron, I've got real concerns about Vardy's participation at Crystal Palace next Monday. At time of recording, he obviously hobbled off with this ongoing hip issue against Tottenham, but the same happened against Man City earlier in the season, and then he played the next game. I would fully expect Vardy to play against United on Saturday, personally. But then if he does, is he going to play at Palace 48 hours later?
No, I don't think he will. I think he'll start on the bench. He's so important to us, isn't he? We can't have him out for any length of time, so that they are managing this little hip issue that he's had for a majority of the season, and it's such a quick turnaround. I can't see it. No, I can't.
Last year, you played West Ham over the Christmas period and basically changed the whole team. Basically took the reserve team, and you played well and you won, actually. Is there a chance that he does that again and just goes, I'm going to change 8 or 9 of them for that Palace game?
Yeah, Sid will be happy you reminding him of that.
He's got to have something in his life, hasn't he?
That's it. Yeah, I think he may do. I don't know whether there'll be kind of the wholesale changes that they were last year, but a lot of teams are going to rotate on. There's such a tight turnaround. I think he'd like to keep the defence relatively settled, but yeah, the forward line will change, but probably most of them, to be honest. I think indeed he'll probably play both games, but again, he might sort of be.
I think that would be a concern at the moment, wouldn't he? I would look at that and think, and did he probably plays against United and then he plays Mendy against Palace? That would be my thoughts.
I don't know.
I don't know if he'd want to risk him for 2 games in 48 hours after the injuries and stuff.
Maybe not. I guess it all depends on how he's feeling, because he has missed a lot of games this year, so he might. But yeah, it is a concern. I think the lucky thing, we're in a position where we've got players to bring in. It's not a case we're down to the bare minimum in the squad. We have got a good squad this year. So yeah, they could be wholesale changes.
What's your FPL thinking with Vardy then, Aaron?
I've not owned him all season.
Do you intend to?
Well, we spoke about this, didn't we, on the last pod I did with you, and I thought about flip-flopping with Kane, but it just didn't feel the right thing to do. I think he's probably outscored Kane, but not by much.
He's got 17 attacking returns, Jamie Vardy.
I know, it's a funny one with him.
25% owned. If I had said to everyone at the start of the season, Jamie Vardy's going to get 17 attacking returns in the first 14 game weeks, and he'd only be 25% owned, and nobody's saying he's a must or anything, nobody would have believed me.
I think it's because he's maybe in the bracket of the Kane. No one really is gone for expensive forwards this year, have they? So if you're going to give me... I mean, there's a guy in our mini league who's got both Kane and him.
There won't be many who've got that combo. Though.
No, and
I've had both of them for most of the season.
Have you? Yeah.
How's your rank, Gary?
Well, it was. I was $500,000, top $500,000 until last Tuesday, and then I've dropped to about 1.2 over the last couple of weeks. So, yeah, I got 29 last week and 50 this week. So it's just absolutely.
Are you blaming that on selling one of Vardy or Kane, or have you still got both?
I sold Vardy this week when he sold Vardy.
Brilliant. We're not bringing this up anymore, honestly. Oh, you did it as well?
Yeah, in Sky I did. For
I sold
Kane.
him in Sky as well. But then I got Bruno's points. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about your forwards, Gary? Does Cavani put a doubt over the likes of Martial and Rashford over this period? You've got 3 days, 3 days, 3 days. You've got a little bit more spacing in the fixtures.
Yes, we've got a better spacing. I think Cavani will play the FA hearing seems to have disappeared. I've not heard anything about that.
I think he's got till the 4th of Jan to appeal, I think.
I mean, I can't believe it takes that long. It was October, wasn't it, or November when it happened?
How many has he been given?
I don't think he's been given a ban, so they won't ban him until he decides whether he's appealing or not.
Oh, okay.
So
and then you find out. I don't know, mate.
Yeah. So maybe they're going to leave it as long as they can, so that he misses FA Cup games, or I don't know how it'll work. But I think Cavani will play probably one of the home games we've got, maybe the middle one. I think we've got Wolves, then Villa, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think Rashford's will probably get a rest because he doesn't quite look fit to me still. He looks something not quite right with him. Martial's has missed a few games anyway, so I think there'll be rotation. Greenwood as well. I think you'd be very reluctant to go stick on a United forward over this run because you might miss one of the, if you miss the Wolves game in the middle. Wolves don't look great at the minute. You could gutted if you stick on Rashford and we beat Wolves 3-0 and he's rested for it, or so I think you probably spend your money elsewhere. I think Fernandes will play. I think he'll start every match and they'll try and bring him off early. There's no way they can rest Fernandes really. Like I say, I think we play Saturday, Tuesday, Friday, and then we'll have, they can rest everyone for the Watford game, can't they? So I think Fernandes you'll be fine with, but I think you'd be brave to go in on any of the forwards.
Have you got Bruno, Gary?
I have, yeah.
Yourself, Aaron, just out of interest?
Yeah.
Yeah, obvious keep, right? Or
can't sell him, can you?
Well, I'm on my wild card. I'm
going to bin him I haven't got him at the moment, actually. Right. But my intention is not to have him at the start and get him back in 19. But it's a bit dependent on this Burnley game and if it happens or it doesn't happen.
I'm debating whether to start on either Sterling or Son and move back to Fernandes as and when. But then I'm thinking, I don't know if that's worth booking in a transfer when other things might go wrong over this period. So I'm still umming and ahhing on that. I think I'll probably keep him, but
it's a difficult sell, isn't he? In any game.
Yeah, definitely.
Like you say, James, anytime, any place.
Yeah, but to be honest, the same applies. I've kind of got the same thinking for Jamie Vardy at the moment. It's because I don't think he plays at Palace. I think I don't want to wildcard into Jamie Vardy not playing at Palace. And then afterwards, you've got Newcastle away, and it's either go in then or wait for 19, and that might depend on injuries and other things that happen in between. But I mean, for me, the two priority players from your two, because you've both got that double in 19 if people are aiming there, pay for Vardy, pay for Fernandes. Probably don't cut the corners. If United do end up with a double-double, it's going to be a treble. And I think, Gary, am I right in saying your favoured three, if that's the case, would probably be Fernandes, Rashford, Lindelof? Well,
Fernandes and Rashford, definitely. Yeah, you'd have to go to Lindelof, but I wouldn't.
I think so, yeah.
I wouldn't like it.
You can always get rid of him. The other good thing about it, you've got, after the double, Sheffield United at home as well.
Yeah, that's the good thing about United.
So you land quite nicely afterwards as well.
Yeah, that is good.
Aaron, three best Leicester if people want three, in your opinion?
Vardy, obviously, is a given. Probably Maddison, Barnes.
Do you take a chance? Barnes, not Justin, no?
I can't see us keeping clean sheets in those home games. Southampton and Chelsea, they don't scream clean sheets, do they?
No.
But I guess if you're on a bench boost or whatever, I think Justin's a good shout.
They also don't scream like you're going to get loads of goals in those two games either. But then you've got the benefit of potentially the two nice fixtures beforehand as well in Palace, this rotation concerned. Then Newcastle away is obviously very attractive. Your run afterwards to double's not too bad either. Everton away, but then Leeds home, Fulham away. So again, you don't land too badly off Leicester assets after the double as well.
Yeah.
Guys, thanks very much. Really enjoyed that. Just before we go, let's do predictions for the game on Saturday. And Aaron, you're the home team. Off you go.
It's going to be tight. I think there'll be a goal in it, and I fancy us to nick it 2-1.
Oh, both teams to score, right?
Yeah.
Gary?
I think, I'm not sure how tight it'll be. I think it might be a bit of a mess. I'll say we'll win 3-2 again. Another 3-2 away win.
Wow. Another big... So all this about first goal wins, that's out the window, is it?
I just think dinner time kick-off on Boxing Day, I think an early goal and it'll get messy.
Fine. I
look forward to that.
I'm going to stay in bed and I'm going to predict it's 0-0. That'll ruin everybody's fucking day, won't it?
Yeah, it will.
Guys, Merry Christmas to you both. Thanks for the contributions over the year.
Merry Christmas,
stay safe, etc. You can follow Aaron at Aaron Lagor on Twitter. And you can follow Gary at IsMyCatPlaying on Twitter as well. No C.O.T.C. next week because of the close timing of podcast. I can confirm, have Bradley Parker on and Sean Norton at Spirit Blues on for Wolves versus Everton ahead of the blank game week. Other than that, all that's left to say is Merry Christmas to all of you. Stay safe. Be nice to each other. Ciao for now.